He was ready to fire her with a single click. She was just a janitor, late, unprofessional, invisible. But when he called to deliver the final blow, a child picked up the phone and said 4 words that shattered everything. If you're ready to hear the whole story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let's get into it. Nathan Hale didn't like delays. Not from his team. Not from suppliers. And especially not from the night staff who were supposed to vanish before the executives arrived. He built Hale Tech from the bones up, lean, precise, clean. 23 floors of glass and silence, wired to his preferences. No mess. No noise. No emotion. Just control. So when a complaint file landed in his inbox at 6 a.m., flagged from a senior board member, he opened it without hesitation. Janitorial employee seen with a child in restricted upper floors. Unprofessional. Unacceptable. Recurring. Attached, grainy footage from the 18th floor hallway. A woman, small frame, dark uniform, mop bucket beside her. A child, maybe 6, maybe 7, in oversized headphones, dragging a coloring book across the wall as they walked. Nathan didn't blink. Policy was policy. He clicked the internal directory. Evelyn Romero, night sanitation, ID number 4711. He didn't remember the name. Didn't need to. He scheduled the call for 8 o'clock sharp. Evelyn's shift ended at 6:30. She never complained about the hours. Never asked for favors. She swept the lobby, wiped the elevator buttons, emptied wastebaskets that filled with broken ambition. Some nights, when her babysitter canceled last minute, she brought Emilio with her. Just for a few hours. He never got in the way. He colored. He read quietly. She always kept him out of sight. The job barely paid enough to survive, but it came with health insurance. And Emilio had asthma. So she held on. By 7:59, Nathan was seated behind his desk, sleeves rolled, tie loose, headset in. The file was open. The termination form ready. He tapped the call icon. Tring. Twice. A small voice answered. Hello. Nathan paused. This is Nathan Hale. I'm looking for Evelyn Romero. Silence. Then, that's my mom. Nathan blinked. Is she available? No, the boy said quietly. She's sleeping. We were up really late. She cleaned the whole big floor and I helped a little. Nathan stayed silent. Then the boy added something. For small words. So, honest. Heavy. Please don't fire her. He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a prayer. Nathan ended the call. He didn't hit delete. He didn't sign. He just sat there, staring at the screen. And for the first time in weeks, the office felt too quiet. Too cold. That evening, Evelyn walked Emilio home. His hand in hers. A juice box in the other. She didn't know about the call. Not yet. But something was already shifting. Nathan didn't sleep that night. He told himself it was a late investor report. Told himself he needed to tweak the Q3 projections. Told himself the overhead lighting was too harsh. But it wasn't the numbers. It was the voice. Please don't fire her. 4 words, soft as breath. No threat. No argument. Just a plea. A kid's voice. Unshaken. Not begging, just asking. Nathan had heard thousands of pitches. Negotiations, demands, excuses. He could smell manipulation in a sentence. This wasn't that. This was something else. At 7 a.m., he pulled up Evelyn Romero's file again. Started reading for the first time. Hired, 3 years ago. Attendance, flawless. Complaints, none until now. Emergency contact, Emilio Romero, age 6. He scrolled through the profile. 3 job references. One listed as night cleaner at St. Augustine's Church. There was no resume. Just the note she'd written on the application form. Willing to work any shift. I don't need much. Just something stable for me and my boy. He closed the file. Opened the footage again. The same clip, Evelyn pushing her cart. The boy walking beside her, quiet, focused. He stopped once to straighten a tilted painting on the hallway wall. Nathan paused the frame. Zoomed in. The child wasn't playing. He was helping. At 9 o'clock, he walked the 18th floor himself. Empty. Smelled like lemon cleaner and polished glass. He stood outside the executive conference room. The same corridor from the footage. That same crooked frame was still slightly off-center. He adjusted it, hands lingering on the edge. He didn't know why. Later, during a board meeting, someone brought up the janitor issue. Handled? A woman asked. He hesitated. Just temporarily. They moved on. But his mind didn't. That night he stayed late. Past the last assistant. Past the closing elevator chimes. And at 10:47 p.m. he saw her. Pushing the cart. Same uniform. Hair tied back. Quiet. The boy wasn't there tonight. He almost called out. But didn't. He just watched. She paused to wipe the lobby windows. Used her sleeve to polish the handle afterward. Then pushed the cart forward. Nathan sat alone in his office until 1 a.m. Didn't work. Didn't speak. Just stared at the untouched termination form on his screen. And finally, slowly, closed it. Not because he had to. Because he couldn't look at it anymore. Evelyn noticed the shift the next night. Her badge still worked. No calls. No warnings. No write-ups. But something felt different. Security nodded slower. The floor supervisor didn't make eye contact. She wiped down the glass doors with careful strokes, every movement deliberate. There was no room for error now. Whatever grace had been extended, she didn't trust it to last. She kept Emilio at home. No coloring books in the corner. No tiny footsteps behind her. Just silence. She missed his humming. Missed his questions. But risk wasn't a luxury she could afford. Nathan reviewed 3 budgets and rejected 2 expansion plans. But the numbers didn't land the same way they used to. They floated. Distant. Like background noise behind something louder he couldn't name. He kept the incident file open for days. Never signed. Never closed it either. He found himself Googling childcare statistics. Night shift survival rates. Single-parent income brackets. He told himself it was research. It wasn't. On Thursday, Evelyn left a note taped to her locker. Just a folded napkin. If there's a problem, I understand. Just please give me time to find something else. Tar. She didn't know who would find it. She just couldn't keep waiting for the hammer to fall. Nathan read the note in the break room. The handwriting was small, even, unhurried. No defense. No argument. Just resignation. That was worse somehow. He sat with it a while. Folded it twice. Placed it in his coat pocket. Didn't throw it away. Didn't respond. Not yet. That night, Evelyn swept the executive floor slower than usual. She paused outside his office. Saw the light still on. She hesitated. Raised her hand. Then lowered it. Walked away. Nathan watched her from behind the blinds. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched. Both of them stuck in the space between silence and decision. Friday night, the storm hit. Power flickered. Elevators stalled. Half the building ran on backup generators. Evelyn was told to stay late. Upper floor restrooms flooded from a busted pipe. She didn't complain. She sent a message to her sitter, "Be late. Bringing Emilio with me. Can't leave him alone." It was just for a few hours. Nathan had planned to leave early. But the storm changed that. 2 client calls rerouted. 1 exec stuck on the tarmac. Then the servers dropped for 10 minutes and half of accounting panicked. He stayed. At 10:13 p.m., he left his office and headed for the side stairwell, only to stop short outside the 19th floor lounge. There she was. Evelyn. On her knees, soaking up water with a stack of towels. Her son curled up in the corner on a coat she'd laid out like a makeshift bed. Coloring book open. Sneakers off. The hallway was quiet. She didn't see him at first. When she did, she froze. Nathan didn't speak. Didn't correct her. Didn't tell her to leave. He stepped closer. Slowly. She stood, wiping her hands on her pant leg. "I didn't want to bring him," she said softly. The sitter canceled. Again. He nodded once. No judgment. Just quiet acknowledgement. She waited for the reprimand. It didn't come. Instead, he looked past her, to the boy, asleep now, one hand curled into a crayon. "What's his name?" Nathan asked. "Emilio," she said. He nodded again. Then, to her surprise, he knelt and picked up one of the soaked towels. Folded it once. Pressed it to the tile. "I've got about 15 minutes before my last call," he said. "Let's finish this." She stared, then slowly bent down beside him. No questions. Just towels. Just the sound of water being pressed into cloth. They worked side by side. Not as boss and employee. Just two people trying to keep the floor from swallowing itself. When they were done, he stood and stretched his back. She wrung out the last towel. "Thank you," she said. He met her eyes. And for the first time, his voice softened. "I should be thanking you." She didn't know what to say to that. So she didn't. They stood there a moment longer, not quite strangers, not yet something else. Then he turned and left without another word. An hour later, Evelyn found a note tucked under her cart. "Your position is secure. No further questions." She didn't cry. But she sat down quietly beside Emilio and let herself breathe for the first time in days. It was supposed to be a normal shift. Evelyn arrived early. Emilio stayed home, finally asleep without coughing. She brewed the cleaning solution herself. Double-checked her floor list. Quiet. Routine. But around 9:15, someone from HR was waiting by her cart. Clipboard. But smile that didn't reach the eyes. "We're doing a routine personnel file audit," the woman said. "Can I ask you something quickly?" Evelyn wiped her hands on her shirt. "Of course." The questions started simple. Start date. Last training certification. Then came the shift. "Is it true your son has accompanied you on property during active hours?" Evelyn froze. "Yes," she said. "Sometimes. Only when my sitter cancels. He stays out of the way. I make sure of it." The HR rep jotted something down. "There's concern about liability." "I understand. And also about disclosure." Evelyn blinked. "What do you mean?" The woman tilted her head. "We ran a secondary background check. There was a flagged address, a prior eviction, and an incident involving emergency services." The air changed. That incident, 3 years ago, had nearly cost her everything. Emilio had gotten sick. No insurance. The hospital refused treatment until she signed over debt she didn't have the means to repay. She had scrubbed that part of her life away like dirt in tile grout. But it lingered. "Is this going to affect my job?" she asked quietly. The woman didn't answer. Just smiled. And walked away. Nathan found her in the break room an hour later. He hadn't meant to, just passing through. But she was sitting on the bench, hands clenched tight in her lap. Not crying. Just still. "Are you all right?" he asked. She didn't look up. "I knew it wouldn't last," she said softly. "I don't belong here." He didn't speak. She stood, finally meeting his eyes. "You don't have to protect me," she said. "I'm just one person. One mop. You can replace me by morning." He didn't look away. "You think that's what this is?" he asked. "I think kindness from powerful men usually has a timer." That landed harder than she knew. Because she was right. That's exactly how his world worked. Bonuses with strings. Praise that expired. Smiles that turned sharp the moment profit dipped. It was different. She hadn't asked for anything. She just showed up over and over again when no one else saw her. He stepped forward. Carefully. "Tell me what you need," he said. She laughed once dry. "I need to know that showing up counts. That being decent matters. That bringing a child into a building doesn't make me less worthy of a paycheck." She swallowed. "I need to not be punished for surviving." The room felt too small. Too real. He didn't try to fix it. He just said, "Okay." And this time, she believed him. That night, Evelyn walked past the HR office and saw the file still open on the desk. She paused, breathed deep, and kept walking. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like she had to explain her existence. The following Monday, Evelyn didn't clock in through the back. She walked through the front doors, pressed her ID badge to the scanner like she belonged. She passed a receptionist who didn't look up, rode an elevator with 3 executives in pressed suits. One nodded. She nodded back. Something had changed. Not around her, within her. Upstairs, in a meeting room with soft lighting and leather chairs, Nathan sat at the head of the table with a legal pad. Across from him, the director of operations spoke quickly: policy updates, background check procedures, custodial restructuring. Nathan barely heard it. What he heard instead was Evelyn's voice. "I need to not be punished for surviving." He closed the folder mid-sentence. "Rewrite the employee review process," he said. "From the ground up." The director blinked. "Excuse me?" No more blanket evaluations based on optics. No more anonymous complaints without follow-up. No more red tape that erases people's stories. The room went still. "And give HR a budget to support emergency childcare grants." Quietly. "No paperwork circus." The woman stared. "That'll be a huge shift." "I know," Nathan said. And this time, he didn't second-guess himself. That night, Evelyn found a plain envelope in her locker. Inside, a typed letter with Hail Tekka's letterhead. "We see you. We value your work. Your position is protected, not just tolerated. We'd like to invite you to help us reimagine what support for our night staff looks like." At the bottom, NH. No signature. No apology. Just acknowledgement. That was enough. 2 weeks later, Evelyn sat across from Nathan in a small cafe 2 blocks from the office. Not as an employee. As a voice. He asked her about scheduling needs. About the blind spots in policy. About the emotional weight of invisibility. She answered honestly. And when she didn't know the answer, she said so without fear. They met once a week after that. No agenda. No notes. Just clarity. Just choice. One evening, as they walked out of the building at the same time, Nathan asked, "Is Emilio doing okay?" Evelyn smiled. "He told me yesterday he wants to work in a big building like this one day." Nathan nodded. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him he already belongs anywhere he decides to stand." Nathan stopped at the door. "You know, I think he got that from you." She didn't respond. But she smiled. And walked out into the night like someone who no longer feared being seen. It was raining the morning Emilio walked back into the building. He wore a bright blue jacket and carried a paper folder that said, "Future Engineer," in yellow marker. Evelyn held his hand as they stepped into the lobby. She didn't wear her uniform anymore. She wore what she wanted. Still simple. Still practical. But no longer invisible. They passed the security desk. The guard waved. Emilio waved back. "Same floor as before?" he asked. Evelyn nodded. "But we're just visiting this time." "Okay," he said. "I remember the way." They stepped into the elevator. He hit the button like it meant something. Upstairs, Nathan stood beside the window, coffee in hand, watching the rain line the glass like soft static. He heard the ping of the elevator. He didn't turn right away. But when he did, Emilio was already halfway down the hallway, arms outstretched like airplane wings. "Look," he said. "Still smells like lemons." Nathan smiled. Evelyn followed at a slower pace, eyes scanning the cleaned carpet, the still-hung picture frames, the mop closet where it all used to begin. She carried a small tin of cookies. Just a thank you. Nathan didn't need them. But he accepted them anyway. They sat in the break lounge. Not across a desk. Not across rank. Just 3 chairs. 1 table. A stack of napkins. Emilio opened his folder and pointed to a crayon drawing. "This one's my robot design," he said proudly. Nathan leaned closer. "What does it do?" "Cleans floors and tells jokes," Emilio said. Evelyn laughed. Nathan did too. It was quiet. Like something that had always been possible, if only they'd paused long enough to let it happen. Eventually, Evelyn stood. "We should go." Emilio packed his papers. Nathan walked them to the elevator. And just before the doors opened, Emilio looked up. "Do you remember the phone call?" he asked. Nathan nodded. "I said not to fire her," Emilio said. "Did it work?" Nathan smiled. "It did." Emilio nodded once. Satisfied. Then stepped inside. Evelyn lingered for a breath. She looked at Nathan and said, softly, "Thank you." "For what?" "For not pretending you were never wrong." Nathan met her gaze. "For not making me pretend either," he said. The doors closed. And the hallway was still again. But not empty. Later that evening, as the sun set over the city, Nathan sat in his office alone. He reached into his drawer and pulled out a folded napkin. The one with Evelyn's note. "If there's a problem, I understand." He smoothed it out. Left it on the desk. Not as a reminder of what almost ended, but of what finally began. He took a sip of coffee. No cream. No sugar. Just the way she always made it. And smiled. Have you ever said something simple that changed everything for someone else? Or did someone ever say something that changed you? Tell your story in the comments. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.